Am I normal? A tiny nagging question. The one that can pop into your head at the most intense, the most intimate, or, let's be honest, the most awkward moments. A question that makes us wonder, does what I do, what I like, or more importantly, what I don't like, does that fit into some universal standard? We've all been there. We've all tried to mentally check our performance against some invisible yet seemingly crucial blueprint for normality. A universal instruction manual for sex that no one has ever seen, but everyone is somehow convinced exists. Well, today we're going to talk about that standard, this so-called official blueprint for normal sex. We're going to find out who drew it up, what their agenda was, and then, spoiler alert, we're going to ceremonially set that piece of paper on fire. So, first things first, where does this idea of normal even come from? It comes from everywhere and nowhere. It's a Frankenstein's monster, stitched together from scraps of Hollywood rom-coms where every orgasm is perfectly synchronized like an Olympic diving team. It's assembled from the unrealistic scripts of pornography where nobody ever gets tired, has a bad angle, or says, "Sorry, my leg is cramping." This image is fed by the curated perfection of ideal couples on Instagram who just got back from Bali and look like they subsist entirely on sunlight and spiritual lovemaking. And of course, it's cemented by wise advice from friends, which is often just a recycled version of these same myths. The result is a picture where everyone is always ready, always knows what to do, always looks like a fitness model, and every act concludes with a fireworks display and applause from an unseen audience. Trying to live up to this standard is like trying to build a real IKEA wardrobe using the instructions for a Lego set. The picture on the box looks simple, but in reality, the parts don't fit, someone always ends up frustrated, and the result is nothing like what was advertised. But who is the evil genius behind this faulty blueprint? Who is the architect who decided what was normal? I can tell you this, it wasn't a committee of happy, sexually fulfilled people. For centuries, the idea of normal was defined by those who were more interested in control than in pleasure. Let's look at history. A huge chunk of our ideas about sex being something shameful, something to be hidden, comes from the Victorian era. Back then, sex was permissible only within marriage and strictly for procreation. Female desire was considered a pathology, hence the infamous diagnosis of hysteria, which was treated by, well, that's a topic for a whole other video. Sex was a duty for women and a necessary but dirty need for men. Pleasure, experimentation, or self-discovery were not on the agenda. Religious doctrines also played a part, framing sex as an original sin and the body as a source of temptation to be kept under strict control. Early medicine and psychology, despite their breakthroughs, sometimes created rigid boxes too. Just think of Freud's whole debate about mature vaginal orgasms versus immature clitoral ones, a theory that made millions of women feel defective for decades. Let's sum it up. Normality was created by institutions interested in social order, demographic control, and managing behavior. Their goal was to make sex simple, predictable, and manageable. In other words, boring. But here's the beautiful, liberating secret that science has been screaming for almost a century. When it comes to human sexuality, there is no straight line of normal. Nature's actual blueprint looks less like a single standard design and more like a fingerprint, or a snowflake, or a galaxy. It's a wonderful chaos, an infinite diversity, and it is absolutely unique to each and every person. Back in the 1940s, a researcher named Alfred Kinsey conducted thousands of interviews and proved that human desire isn't an on-off switch. It's a spectrum, a vast, colorful, and unpredictable landscape. His research revealed a colossal gap between what people said they did and what they actually did. Your normal is simply your unique coordinate on that massive map. Later, William Masters and Virginia Johnson, who literally observed thousands of sex acts in their lab, described the physiological stages of sexual response. But the key thing is, while the plumbing might have similar stages, what turns it on, how it feels, and what brings pleasure, that's a combination of billions of different factors. So what happens when we ignore this reality and keep chasing that impossible one-size-fits-all standard of normal? We turn connection into a performance. Intimacy becomes a test. We start worrying more about hitting our marks, saying the right lines, and whether our body looks like a glossy ideal than we are about actually being present in the moment with our partner. We feel anxiety, guilt, and pressure. And the most ironic part is, chasing the perfect sexual experience is the fastest way to have a bad one. It's the paradox of pleasure. The harder you try to achieve it, the further it runs away, because you're in your head, not in your body. So, what do we do? The answer is simple. You ditch the blueprint. The opposite of normal isn't chaos, it's curiosity. It's communication. It's about being an explorer of your own desires and a co-author of intimacy with your partner, not a follower of some outdated imaginary rules. So, instead of asking, "Am I normal?" try asking yourself different questions. Is this safe for me and my partner? Is this bringing me pleasure and joy? Does this strengthen our emotional connection? If the answer to those questions is yes, congratulations. You are doing absolutely everything right. So, is what you're doing normal? The only person who can answer that is you. The only norm that matters is the one that brings you and your partner safety, pleasure, and closeness. Everything else is just noise. So, what's the most ridiculous sexual rule or myth you've ever heard? Let us know in the comments, let's have a laugh about it together, and get rid of this junk for good. And if you're ready to stop worrying about the rules and start understanding the science behind desire and pleasure, make sure you hit subscribe and ring that bell. Because next time, we're digging into your brain's control panel to find out who's really in charge of your libido. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.